Good morning, guys. When I look at my life and when I think and feel how I am right now, the path of mind wealth that I'm on, just how happy, how free, how peaceful I feel right now, I want everybody in the world to feel the happiness I feel right now within me. But I always think, how on earth is it possible that I got to this point when I look at the challenges and struggles I faced in my life? And I know they're nothing compared to some of the ones you might be going through or other people have gone through. But the key is this: embrace the struggle. That's the key. Whatever challenge you're going through, whatever stress, whatever anxiety, understand that there's a reason it's going after you. Don't fight it. Let it come in. Don't be destroyed by it. Fight it, but know that it's there, but seeking you because you are a miracle. You are 1 in 400 trillion. It wants you because it's going to help improve you. Have a great day, everybody.
No matter what's up, choose to show up with love. Choose to show up with grace. Now, if something really tough is up, maybe just choose to show up with self compassion. If you're going through something, I'm not going to sit here and recommend that if you're going through a traumatic period in your life, I'm not going to recommend that you wake up and you're like, it's rainbows and butterflies and Gabby Bernstein's Spirit Junkie app. No, that's not what I'm going to match. That's not what I'm going to recommend. What I'm going to recommend is you wake up and you say, I'm going to choose to see myself with love today. I'm going to choose to be compassionate and kind to myself today. I'm going to choose to go slow today. But that's still a very, very mindful morning. Okay, so more in the morning is probably the most crucial time to be conscious of your mindfulness and show up with grace and show up with love and bring it in the morning.
The fastest way to shift your mindset in a positive direction is to choose to show up with love. If you're stressed out, if you're fearful, if you've got anxiety, if you're low on energy, just shift. Just tell yourself, I'm going to show up with love and see how that moves you forward in a positive direction. Otherwise, you get stuck. You stay stuck because you listen to the voices in your head as to you're not good enough and why you can't do it and everybody's doing better than you and so on. Where when you can choose to show up with love, it just negates all of that. So let me share a couple examples that I've used it in my life and hopefully it applies to your life as well to help you get the momentum that you need. So scenario number one is when you're stressed out, when you are overwhelmed, when you're doing something scary or you're in doubt and you come up with all these reasons why you can't do something. So for me, it's staying on stage, going on stage, doing a big presentation, even making these videos. Every time before doing something that I want to be good, that I'm worried about, that I might disappoint somebody, the procrastination sets in, the fearful thoughts set in, because I want it to be the best that I've ever done. My biggest fear is still disappointing people. And instead of listening to those thoughts and how it may show up as, my message isn't good enough, I don't know what gear to use, maybe not in my case for that one, but what prevents you from doing it? There's logical reasons, but really just fear talking. Where if you can decide, if I'm making this video, is it my best video of all time? Maybe. I want it to be. Is it? Likely not, but I'm trying. And the way through that is to show up with love. Like, I love you. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for investing in yourself. Thank you for putting goodness out into the world. I make these videos because you can reach people that I can't. Your business, your heart, your soul, your beliefs, what you've been through, your story can touch people and change the world in a way that I can't. And so if I can be a little bit of a push, motivation, whatever, to help you start doing something, that makes me happy. It fills me up knowing that what I'm doing matters is important, right? So show up with love. That's all I have to do. Don't worry about it being the best video of all time. Just show up with love. Don't worry about it being the best speech of all time. Just show up with love. Remember why you're doing it. It's another version of it, right? Like, why are you doing this thing, but not from an extra pressure? If you feel over pressured to be great, then that can be debilitating to the point where you freeze. A lot of procrastinations, you're just afraid to do the thing. And so choose to show up with love. I love this person. I love who I'm trying to help. Even if you don't know them, right? Some of you who are watching this video have never met you before. Thank you for being here. even if you say I love you, even mentally, I love this person, I love my audience, I love my customers, even if you haven't met them yet, it rewires you. It just makes it so much easier. Try it. Like, what are you procrastinating on that you want to get done, that you want to get done, not that you don't want to do, but you want to do? It's part of your goals, it's your ambitions, that you hope one day you could be that person, right? What are you procrastinating on? And just flip it from having to be perfect to saying, I love these people, I'm going to show up with love. And watch it just shift you so you can actually start taking some momentum. It's a huge thing for anything that you're procrastinating on that you're afraid of. So that's scenario number 1, the things that you're afraid of. Scenario 2 is people, and specifically the people who are negative, haters that we might call it. I don't actually like the term haters. I don't think there are haters. I think there's just people who are in a lot of pain. You know, I think if somebody's highlight of their day is to show up and leave something negative on your website, on your YouTube video, on your social media accounts, whatever, they're in a lot of pain. You know, I think people are built to serve. We are good. We want to help. We want to contribute. And so if somebody, that's everybody, like everybody wants to serve. So if somebody is showing up with negativity in their heart thrown at you when they've never even met you before, why would they do that? Well, they're in a lot of pain. You know, hurt people. And so a lot of times we get emotional. You know, we don't like seeing those negative comments. I don't like seeing negative comments, even on a channel like mine where it's only positivity. I'm not making bash videos on people. If somebody's going to show up to a channel about positivity and leave negative comments, how much in pain do they need to be in to do that? And even just seeing it like that already starts to shift it. But what if you were to say, I love this person? Like, how would you show up if you loved your hater? Not because it fuels you to go prove them wrong and be better, but feel bad for them, not sorry for them, but just have empathy for them and say you love them. Like, if you love this person, how would you show up differently? Instead of allowing that comment that they left on your video to ruin your day, to maybe make you never post again, to get into a fight or debate or respond to them, you know, and try to win the battle. Instead of that, if you actually said, hey, I love this person, even if you don't know them, you might think, well, that's ridiculous, I don't know this person. I know, I understand. This is not your mom coming on your YouTube channel and saying that you suck. It's some random stranger you've never met, and maybe you don't even know who they are, and you can't see their name, and their profile picture is a cartoon, right? Or a soccer player. So that's fine. But even if you just say, I love this person, how would it change if you love this person? And watch it shift you. Watch the chemicals and you start to shift towards you now being more proud of yourself. If you show up with love, it allows you to have the courage to be the person who you want to be, who you're proud of. Like, when you get some negative comment and then you respond in a really snarky way, or you show up, somebody slights you some way, somebody cuts you off in traffic. I'm in my car right now. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you have to catch up to them and give them the look, or cut them off, or blast your horn. You know, if you actually thought about that, are you ever proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself in those moments? Like, if you reflect back and see what you did in reaction, are you proud of how you showed up? Probably not, right? Probably not. At least I'm not when that happens. And so the way through it is to show up with love. Like, even just tell yourself, I love this person. I'll practice it with random people on the streets. You know, like I'm walking down the street and somebody comes by and like, I love this person, just as a mental exercise of practice. How do you show up? Instead of just being head down, ignoring them, you know, looking at your phone, maybe you give them a smile. It feels really weird, especially as an introvert, shy person. I don't go up and say hi to people, but it's a good practice to get into. But especially for the haters, like, number 1 and 2, one is, again, you're afraid, you're stuck, you're overthinking, stressed out. And number 2 is you're also afraid, but of people's opinions, and specifically the negativity that's out there. What they do is they prevent you from taking action. It keeps you out of momentum. You're just stuck in fear zone instead of creation zone. And so the opposite of fear is love, right? It's not hate. Like, the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is fear. And so it allows you to get out of the fearful mindset and into a loving mindset, which is not just frou-frou, what, I don't know, fluffy. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It gives you into momentum mode. Moving from fear to love allows you to take action, and that's what makes it super practical. So have love, even in your own mind, for who you're trying to serve and what you're trying to create. Have love for any negativity, any people who are criticizing you. They're not haters, they're just people in a lot of pain, and show them love. and watch how it shifts you into momentum. And then the third scenario is loving for yourself. A lot of times we just need to love ourselves more. So the first two are love that are outwardly pointed, right? Out toward our customers or the audience, towards people who are disagreeing with us or disrespecting us or hating on us. But the third one is just self-love, more self-compassion, self-love. Love that you showed up today. Love that you decided to watch this video today. Love that you're fighting to chase down your goals and your dreams, even in the face of not getting a lot of results or not being where you want to be. You know, you're probably not where you want to be right now. And maybe you're not proud of the week that you've had or the day that you've had or the month that you had or the year that you've had, that you could have done better. You should be further ahead, right? Has you ever thought, has that ever popped into your mind? So self-love, again, allows you to get into momentum. So what can you be proud of yourself for? So love that you showed up, love that you're trying today, love that you're watching this video right now, love that you're making another attempt, even if you failed at a million other times, you're trying again. Like, love that you're starting, love that you're learning, love that you're adapting, love that you're gonna put your best shot this time, and maybe this is the one that actually sticks. Like, love that about yourself, as opposed to just beating yourself up and say, oh well, here I am again, you know, another thing that's not gonna work, because again, that keeps you stuck. So all of this does two things. It allows you to actually build the thing that you want to build, right? It allows you to be proud of yourself. It allows you to start getting more results, start getting closer to your dreams, because you're showing up with love instead of fear, right? Love is the opposite of fear. And two, it allows you to have more fun along the way, so that you're not just constantly stressed out of jumping from one problem to another problem to another problem to another problem. Because entrepreneurship is a lot of problems, right? You're gonna have a lot of problems running your business, a lot. And we're professional firefighters, just constantly putting out fires. So if you can do that with love, it's a lot more fun. It's just a lot more fun. So it allows you to be more productive and effective, and it's a lot more fun. And so I think love is a strategy. Love is the secret ingredient. And it's something that I'm not perfect at it. I need to constantly remind myself of it. And this video is a great refresher for myself as well. And the more that you can have that as a reminder in your daily environment, as a mantra, as something that you live your life by, to choose to show up with love for your customers, for your haters, and for yourself. If you can start to embody that even 5% of the time, your entire life changes. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Morning, guys. It's amazing to me how some of the things in life connect to economics and connect to the way we live. So today in our top 10 rules for success, Robert Kiyosaki shares his rule, his 5th rule, which is hard times bring opportunities. And this is so true. And again, it fits with what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build infinite mind wealth. That's our true destiny. And it's amazing when we look at the way we handle our money, the way we think about money. You know, Robert Kiyosaki today talks about how times of depression, economic depression, bring opportunities, but most people don't look at it that way. We get scared, we let fear to kick in, and we lose out opportunities. You know, so that kind of thinking is the same in life. Your hardest times will bring your greatest opportunities, but it's a choice you make to not let fear stop you. I hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
Joe Dispenza went from competing in a triathlon, getting run over by an SUV, and breaking his back in 6 places, to healing himself instead of taking high-risk surgeries and teaching people around the world how they can step beyond their limitations and heal themselves. Here's my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
When you begin to create from the field instead of from matter, the only way you can do that is you have to learn how to take all of your attention off your body and become a nobody. Take all of your attention off all the people in your life that you give so much of your attention and energy to because you have an emotion associated with them. And get beyond all the people in your life and go from a someone to a no one. Now, if you've worked your whole life being a someone, or if you've been working your whole life thinking that you're your body, you're gonna have to work a little harder because that's your identity.
Sure.
That's what you're associated with. And
It's a long time of conditioning
it's
that
a
you
long
have to
time of
unwind.
conditioning. And if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. So then you have to go get beyond all the things in your life, your cell phone, your computer, your car, and literally go from something to nothing. You have to take all your attention off the place you work, the place you live, the place you need to be, the place you're sitting, and go from somewhere to nowhere. You got to stop thinking about the predictable future and the familiar past and go right into the present moment and go from some time to no time. And if you do that properly, you become pure consciousness. And that's how you enter the field. Now, we've done the research on this. We call it getting beyond the self. Now, once you are pure consciousness, you're taking all of your attention off this 3-dimensional reality. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So if you've taken all of your attention off of everything material, there's only one place you're going to wind up, and that is the immaterial realm called the quantum field, an invisible field of energy that unifies and connects everything material. So now when you're creating from the field and you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion and you're connected and you feel connected, the suggestion of an alternative way to create is that when there's a vibrational match between your energy and some future reality, you actually no longer have to go anywhere to get it. You're actually the vortex, and you will collapse space and time and draw the experience to you. Now that, to me, is a lot more fun because the experience is the unknown. You can't predict when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, because if you can predict it, it's known. So then you have to lay down the very thing you use your whole life to get what you want for something greater to occur. Now that goes against generations untold of conditioning and a lifetime of habituation, believing that we're trapped in this material world. And yet I can say to you without a doubt that once you understand that formula, and once you know how to create that kind of brain and heart coherence, the side effect of that is a change in biology, neurologically, chemically, hormonally, genetically. We've measured it. We've seen gene regulation changes in 4 days. More brain coherence, more heart coherence. Your brain's working better. Your heart is, you're trusting your heart. It's open. There's different chemicals that are released. Oxytocin suppresses survival centers, resets the baseline of a person's trauma or shock. Your immune system goes up. You lengthen your telomeres. We've measured that too. So you're changing the future of your body. You're extending your life. That's evidence, right? So we have the evidence to know that it could happen because we've measured it. But the real evidence is watching the testimonial of someone who says, I had stage 4 cancer. I was told as a 41-year-old woman that I wouldn't live for more than 2 months. And I have no evidence of cancer in my body at all. Or someone that's a physician who has Parkinson's disease that's tried everything from the medical route and has one transcendental moment, and their tremors and their pain are gone. And now they're chewing food, they're swallowing, they're blowing their nose, they're standing up on their own. That's energy affecting matter. So we have hundreds and hundreds of testimonials of people that not only healed their body, but created pretty profoundly magical things in their life. So you have evidence in the scientific world, you have evidence in the practical world, and evidence is the loudest voice right now.
Rule number 2, recondition your brain.
The brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything we've learned and experienced to this moment. So most people wake up in the morning and they think about their problems, and their problems are memories that are etched in their brain that are connected to certain people and certain problems at certain times and certain places. And the moment they start thinking of their problems, they're thinking in the past. The challenge is that every one of those problems has an emotion associated with it, and emotions really are a record of the past. So the moment you feel unhappy, the moment you feel suffering, the moment you feel fear, now your body's in the past. So it's the thought being the language of the brain and the feeling being the language of the body, and how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. So many people reaffirm their state of being completely by the past. And so it only takes a thought and a feeling, an image and emotion, a stimulus and response to start the conditioning process. So we start to condition the brain and body, hardwire the brain, condition the body emotionally into the past. The problem is the body's so objective that it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion we're creating by memory alone. The body's believing it's living in the same past environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So then the person gets up and then they run through the same routine as they always do. And in time, their body moves into a state of autopilot. Now their body is a set of programs, a habit that's dragging them into the same future based on what they did in the past. And so to change then also requires being greater than the emotions that have been conditioned into the body and the habituations that have been conditioned into the body in the predictable future. So we have to understand then that change requires not only being greater than the environment, but also being greater than our body, which is really, for the most part, been conditioned to be the mind. That's what a habit is. So then to change then, to be greater than the body, to be greater than the environment, and to be greater than time, instead of living in the familiar past, which is the known, and the predictable future, which is the known, you teach people how to settle into the present moment, and that's the unknown. And most people, that the unknown represents a very threatening place. And so when people start to do meditation, as an example, and their body starts looking for an arousal or wants to get up and do things, they think they can't meditate. But in fact, if they can settle their body back down into the present moment and lower the volume to that anger, to that frustration, to the fear, to the sadness, it's like training an animal. Now you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And our research shows there's a liberation of energy. The body starts expanding and relaxing into the present moment. Instead of getting up and checking your cell phone or doing something, and you notice that propensity, instead of responding to it and say, I can't meditate, you settle your body back down into the present moment. Now you're executing a will that's greater than the program, because most people lose their free will to a set of programs. And it's the act of doing this, to be greater than the conditions of our environment, to be greater than our body as the mind, and to be greater than time, that all of a sudden causes the person to start believing in themselves a little bit more. And that's when possibility starts to unfold.
Rule number 3, step into the unknown.
Let's say you've had some pretty rough experiences in your past, and those experiences caused you to feel sad and unworthy and guilty and judgmental. And you've gotten so used to feeling guilty and unworthy and judgmental that that's just feels normal to you. And then because you feel kind of victimized, then you blame people and you complain and you make excuses and you feel sorry for yourself, and that's your personality. And all of a sudden you say, today, I'm not going to do that any longer, because that's the old self. And then you start off your day and it goes really well for about 2 hours. And then all of a sudden, the moment you realize that you're no longer making the same choices as the day before, you are going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to be uncertain. There's going to be some unpredictability. And we now know that people would rather hold on to their guilt and unworthiness than to step into the unknown, because at least they can feel something. And so the moment you stop making the same choices that you always make. Get ready because it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's the moment you're heading towards the new self. And we call it stepping into the river of change. But now, remember, 95% of who you are is your body as the mind. You know, you've done something enough times that your body does it better than your brain. So you may actually complain unconsciously because your body does it all the time. And all of a sudden you say, no complaining, no more blaming, no more feeling sorry for myself, no more talking about other people, I'm going to stop. You know what happens, don't you? The body starts sending signals to the brain. The body's been conditioned that way. And all of a sudden you start hearing the thoughts in your head that say, why don't you start tomorrow? Tomorrow's a better day. This is too hard for me, I can't change. Something's wrong with me, it's my mother's fault. It's my ex-husband's fault. It's my ex-wife's fault. I'm this way because of this event. Or the most important one, this doesn't feel right. And the moment you respond to that thought as if it's true, that thought leads to the same choice, which leads to the same behavior, that creates the same experience, that produces the same emotion, and the person says, this feels right. That feels familiar. Going from the old self to the new self, stepping into that void, stepping into that uncertainty, is the biological, the neurological, the chemical, the hormonal, genetic death of the old self. And people will say to us, well, in that unknown, I can't predict my life or my future. And we always say the same thing to them. The best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. And when you and I get comfortable in the place of the unknown, that's where the magic happens. And it never happens in the known.
Rule number 4, open your heart.
If you have a very brain-driven person, like myself, and in some parts I disconnected from my emotions just to protect me in regular life, and it's a challenge for me to reconnect to my old emotions that I already had in circumstances that would help. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, well, God, I have a lot of advice around that. Because 70% of the time, people in their waking lives, they live in a very protective state. They live in a state of stress or in a state of survival. In fact, it's such a program that we don't know that we're doing this. We're always spanning the environment to determine if it's safe or not. And if something appears out of the predictable or unknown, it alerts us. And we move into a state of arousal and we begin to turn on the very systems that begin to say danger, threat, possible scenario that's not safe. And when that happens, we literally begin to anticipate an outcome. And when we do that, we're always preparing for what could go wrong. And we begin to create the emotions ahead of the experience of what happens if it goes wrong, whether it's fear, anxiety, worry, sadness, pain. We do that unconsciously. That's what a program is. And that becomes the habit. So if you're living in a world where men have to provide and show a certain amount of success and be competitive, then you're not going to open your heart. It's not a time to do that. It's a time to survive and thrive in an environment. And yet, in our work, I see men that if they practice opening their hearts, and it's just being a child again, being a boy again, being curious, being wondering, being free, allowing yourself to let go.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, change your personality.
We're all faced with great challenges, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. And there's always a door. There's always a door. And so your personality creates your personal reality. It's that simple. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's listening to this show has created the present personal reality called their life, which means if you're going to change something in your personal reality in your life, you got to change your personality. You have to change. Nothing changes until you change. That's the bottom line.
You change, but the thought of changing my personality seems so like, but I like who I am, kind of, but I'm also cranky. I'm also annoyed. So like, who is that person underneath all of these ailments, I guess, all of these, but it's a weird thing to say, you change your personality.
Well, look, I mean, there's many things that I love about my personality, just like you do. I'm going to take that with me. But there are things, if I'm going to be defined by a vision of the future, there are things that can't come. Because the moment you say, I want to have a mystical experience where I transcend this three-dimensional world, and you want to have a really profound moment, a transcendental moment, you start showing up for that, and it doesn't happen right away, then what? You're going to start disbelieving. You stop believing in yourself. So the moment we're defined by a vision of the future that's bigger than us, that vision of the future is not the vision of the past. And when we do that, we take with us our discipline, we take our concentration, we take our presence, we take our passion, we take our strengths with us. All those things you take. But the things that are standing in the way are those old beliefs. The things that stand in the way that stop you from connecting to it. Those are the things you come up against, and it's not the mystical experience or the transcendental experience. It's who you become. It's not your wealth. It's not your health. It's who you become. It's not your freedom. It's who you become in the process, and it's the overcoming process that we overcome, that we overcome, that we overcome, that we overcome till we finally become. And so many great people in history. You know, even wealthy people always want to be wealthy, but if you study wealthy people that really did it, they failed miserably thousands of times until they figured it out. And so you keep showing up for yourself enough times, you're going to change. You're going to change. You're going to be thinking differently. You're going to be acting differently. You're going to be feeling differently. And that's when the universe starts to conspire in ways that we just never even thought about. That's the beauty behind creation.
Rule number 6, open your focus.
When a person begins to slow their brainwaves down, they have to go, when you're in stress, when you're in survival, you narrow your focus on a cause. That's called what's called a convergent focus. So now you're blessing the energy centers of the body. They're under the control of the autonomic nervous system. And when the autonomic nervous system moves out of balance, the brain moves out of balance, right? We narrow our focus on the cause, and it causes each one of these different energy centers to move into incoherence as well. And those little individual brains start moving into incoherence and send an incoherent message to the cells and tissues and organs. Hormones then become downregulated and the body starts moving out of balance. So when we bless the energy centers or we reprogram these energy centers, two things has to happen. They have to be able to slow their brainwaves down. They have to get out of that high beta state. And the way we do it is to go from a narrow focus to a broad focus. When you open your focus, when you open your awareness, that's what creates coherence in the brain, because you're going against that habit of putting your attention on matter. So there's a convergent focus, which is focusing on matter, and then there's a divergent focus, which is focusing on energy. Well, reality is both particle and wave, matter and energy. So if a person can slow their brainwaves down from beta brainwaves to alpha brainwaves, now they're starting to fall out of their thinking brain right into the home of the autonomic nervous system. If the person can't change their brainwaves, it'll never work because they're in their neocortex in their thinking mind, right? So that's one thing that has to happen. The second thing that has to happen is that they have to practice both a convergent focus and a divergent focus.
So by the convergent, you're focusing on, let's say I'm going to focus on this
That
energy
center,
center,
right.
And then you move your focus to another energy center.
Well, first you focus on that energy center, that's particle, and then you focus on the space around it, that's wave.
Okay.
And so when you open your awareness and you're able to do that and you're in your autonomic nervous system, you can put an intention there, which will create more balance in estrogen, more balance in your sexual organs. You move to your second center, you put your attention there. That's where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So now you're beginning to direct energy into that center. But now you become aware of the space around it. Why? To create coherence in that little brain. Send the coherent message to the cells and tissues. Go to your third center, right in the pit of your gut. Well, there's a huge celiac plexus there, or solar plexus, a lot of connections in there. So now put your attention.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Always getting a lot of signs there.
Yeah.
Here and here.
Yeah.
Heart and solar plexus.
Yeah, those are big ones. And you tune into that energy. Then you put your attention in your heart. It has its own individual brain.
Yeah.
And when you make energy here, when energy finally arrives here, guess where it goes automatically? Straight up. We've measured it. So now once you start opening your heart, you get more energy in your heart, you get more energy in your brain.
Got it.
And
Short on time, just go straight to the heart.
That's why we do it. That's exactly why that's why we open the heart. So it creates a field and it begins to drive energy to the brain. So now that energy is going to cause the person to have a different consciousness, a different thought pattern, right? And now they're going to be thinking possibility, because in survival, the first three ones are all about survival.
Yeah.
It's really not a creative process of creating from mind. It's more about a more primitive, humanistic part of us, animal part of us. So then there's the thyroid plexus, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. So we've seen when people create coherence in each one of these energy centers and they do it properly, they know how to change their brainwaves. They get into the operating system. They can master convergent and divergent focus. They're no longer living just this way. They've practiced opening their awareness and focus on energy, becoming conscious of it. And as these brains become more coherent and they start producing different signals to hormones and chemicals and to different glands in the body, that's what's being upregulated to make different expressions.
Rule number 7, be a creator, not a victim.
Would you say it's smart to focus on one goal? I mean, if you're sick, obviously it's smart to focus on getting healthy. But if you have a regular life and you say, I would like to have the classical stuff, more money, more wealth, more love, more joy. Would you say in those meditations it's smart to focus on different goals, or should it rather be the big goal, like a big vision I have for my life, that all the steps on the way are just marks I will pass at one point?
Well, let's answer that on two levels too, because people come to our workshops for all different reasons. Some people come because they're sick. Some people come because they want more money. Some people want a new job, a new opportunity, a new career, a new relationship. Some people want the mystical. The people come for all kinds of reasons. To me, I don't care. What I care about is that they latch on to a vision and they learn how to create. Whatever drives them to that elegant moment where they're so present and so passionate about what they want, and they have a clear intention, a clear vision, a coherent brain, and they have an elevated emotion combined with it, that they create heart coherence. And now they're broadcasting a whole new energy into the field. And whatever we broadcast into the field is our experiment with destiny. So I want people to know the how, because we have plenty of people that have made millions and millions of dollars that were living in the backseat of their car or filed bankruptcy. We have plenty of people that were stage 4 cancer, serious health conditions that are healed. But really, people think they come for those reasons, but we come for wholeness. That's why we come. That when we feel so whole and so happy with ourselves, so connected to something greater, if you feel wholeness, it's impossible for you to want. How can you want when you're whole? When you're whole, you feel like you have everything. So I want people to reach that point where they feel so whole that they no longer want, and that's when the magic happens. Teaching them that allows them to understand that when they come back to their senses, they open their eyes. They're not looking for the experience. They feel like it's already happened. And if you feel like it's already happened, why would you be looking for it? Then, if your body is conditioned emotionally into that future, you're not separate from the energy of your future. You're connected to it. But the moment you get in traffic and you start getting angry, you get on the line at the bank and you start getting impatient, or you're sitting in a staff meeting and you start judging a coworker, you just disconnected from the energy of the future, and now you're back to the energy of your past, and you've done nothing wrong. You just lost your connection to the future. Now, the importance of that is to notice that you're disconnected. And if you say to me, well, that person made me feel this way and think this way, I'd say, oh my gosh, you're back to the unconscious program of being a victim in your life. The victim is saying that someone or something is controlling how I think and feel. But a person who's producing outcomes in their life, all of a sudden they say, wow, the way I'm thinking and feeling is creating outcomes in my life. Now I'm a creator in my life, and now I believe less that I'm a victim in my life.
Rule number 8, keep learning new things.
I want to show you what it looks like when you learn something new. You have 100 billion neurons in your brain. 100 billion neurons. The number of connections you have in one neuron is between 10,000 and 40,000 connections. If you took 100 billion sheets of paper and you stacked them on top of each other, it would be 5,000 miles high. That's the distance from Los Angeles to London. If you took a scoop of gray matter, the size of a grain of sand, you would have 100,000 neurons in it with over 1 billion connections. Now, I'll stop right after this slide. Learning is making new synaptic connections. Every time you learn something new, this is what's happening in your brain, geniuses. If you learned one bit of information today, your brain did this. Boom. That's learning. Physical evidence as a result of your interaction in the environment. Every time you learn something in your brain, there's a physical change that takes place, and learning is making new connections. Are you with me? This is how fast it happens, too. That's learning. If you learn anything this week, you've made a footprint. If learning is making new synaptic connections, then if you keep firing the same thoughts over and over again, you're going to wire them in your brain. So then if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining them. And all of a sudden, they develop a long-term relationship. And just like any relationship, the more you communicate, the more they connect. And neurons are exactly the same way. Now, as you begin to learn information, neurons tend to assemble themselves into networks, or what's called neural networks. And neural networks are just gangs of neurons that have fired and wired together to form a community of neurosynaptic connections that's related to a thought, a skill, a habit, a behavior, a concept. And neural networks are automatic programs. You have a neural network to brush your teeth, to put on makeup, to speak a language, to walk. All of a sudden, those neurons then form a hardware circuitry, but if you keep repeating it, the hardware becomes a software program and it becomes automatic.
Rule number 9, shift your mindset.
People think that they want certain things because they're experiencing lack. And so they have to go about becoming the very person. So then if we reframe it and you say, oh, I really want to be wealthy, I want all my needs met, and I'll say, really, why do you want to be wealthy? And they'll say, because I want freedom. I'd say, okay, well, let's focus on freedom. So now the person understands the sponsoring thought or the emotion. Why would you wait for your wealth to feel free? That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect, waiting for someone or something out there to take away this emptiness or lack. And what if I'm feeling this emotion is influencing certain thoughts, and how I think and feel creates my life. If I'm living in lack, I'm not going to create anything new. But if I say to you, hey, when you become that person, once you become it, then your your reality is going to reorganize itself. Instead of living by cause and effect, let's teach you how to cause and effect. So then the person then is no longer interested in getting something in their environment when they realize it's about who they become. And all of a sudden now the emphasis or the interest is in becoming that person. And we have a week with those people, and I want them to walk as it, sit as it, stand as it, lay down as it. I want them to get in the habit of walking from their room to the ballroom. It's become the new habit. That's why when we do our work, we're doing sitting meditations, we're doing standing and walking meditations, we're doing lying down meditations. I want it to become a new habit. I want them to become that person.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is shorten emotional reactions.
One of my biggest problems is that I tend to react quickly to negative situations. How can I cope with anger? Do you have any suggestions or advice?
Yeah, I'll tell you the first thing. It's not that you react. We all react. The question is, how long are you going to react? That's the question. So we found out that when people react emotionally with anger, with antagonism, there's an arousal that takes place because you're turning on the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system is a primitive system saying, Alex, whatever that is a threat to you. And if there's a threat, a good way to deal with a threat is to get aggressive. That's primitive. It's animal. It's very animal. Some people will say, oh my God, there's my ex. And instead of getting angry, they run. They flee. They're in fear. They're like, the fear is, I'm better just getting away. So the fear causes them to run. When people feel fear, when they feel anger, when they feel pain, those are the primary stimulators that switch on that sympathetic nervous system. And they used to say that it's automatic. Like, it's automatic. It happens automatically. That's part of the autonomic nervous system, and you really don't have any control of it. Turns out that's absolutely not the truth. So first thing is learning how to shorten your response to the emotional reaction. So if you have an event that happens to your life, in your life, and I say, Alex, why are you so mad today? And you say, oh, it's because of this situation and this person, and this happened this way. And I would say, oh my gosh, do you mean that person or that circumstance is controlling the way you feel and the way you think? Now, anything that's controlling the way we feel and the way we think makes us victims, whatever that is. Now, that's okay. But if you keep that emotional reaction going on for hours or days, and I say to you, Alex, it's 5 days, what's up? And you say to me, I'm upset from something that happened to me 5 days ago, I'd say you have a mood. You're in a mood. Now, some people keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months. And then I would say, well, Alex has a angry temperament. It becomes a temperament. If we keep it going now this is true, people keep this going for years on end. If it goes on for years, now it's a personality trait. So here's the weird part about it. You ask that person who's been angry for years why they're angry, and they'll recall an event from 10 years ago or a series of events from 10 years ago. And the childhood. And the research on the memory says that 50% of that story isn't even the truth. They can't even remember the truth. They embellish the story and make it sound worse than it really was to excuse themselves from changing. Now, what we tell people is forget the event. Doesn't matter. The details of the event doesn't. What matters is learning how to overcome the emotion. So when you're sitting in a meditation and all of a sudden out of nowhere, your body starts getting aroused and it starts getting frustrated and it starts getting angry. And people say, I'm doing my meditation wrong. You know what I say to them? No. You're doing it right, because that has to come up. So
So when the anger and the frustration comes up and a person's in a meditation, they have one of two choices: to quit, which is what they've always done. But if you're sitting with 1,500 people and no one else is quitting, you're not going to quit. And if I teach you how to lower the volume to that emotion, and I teach you a way to change that,
Good morning, guys. I'm going to share another story from Les Brown, one of my favorites. This guy is awesome. I want to share a story when he talks about being hungry. So being hungry for me, it's determination. I love this stuff. This is my core. I'm hungry to be the best human being I can be. Well, Les talks about a story when he wanted to become a disc jockey, and he would be like a lion. He'd be waiting, watching. There was this one guy one time, and he wanted his job as a disc jockey. And this gentleman, for whatever reason, was having a rough night. He had, I guess, had a little bit too much in terms of enjoying his recreational activities. Let's just say that. So as Les watched him, and when that guy could no longer continue, Les was ready. He was ready to pounce. And I remember him saying, "Drink, Rog, drink. Drink, Rog, drink." In other words, go ahead, lose your opportunity. I'm ready to take it. So I hope this helps. Have a good laugh from Les, and remember, stay hungry.
I teach people to love themselves because I find that this is the answer for almost everything. You see, I believe that we're all 100% responsible for everything in our lives. I think we create all of our experiences by our thinking, feeling patterns. The thoughts we think and the words we speak are enormously powerful. And it's almost as though we think a thought or we speak a word and it goes out from us and it comes back to us as experience. Now, we learn how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about life when we are very, very little. By the time we are 3 to 5 years old, we have a total mindset about who we are and what life is all about. And from then on, we keep reacting to experiences through this mindset. And while very often these thoughts that we have and these beliefs that we create or decisions that we make or agreements that we make at that age are very good and they help us to survive in what may be a very difficult situation, we often take them forward into life so that when we become adults, we're still operating out of a 3-year-old mentality or a 3-year-old decision. And that often doesn't work in our life. So we learn these things when we're very young, and we usually learn them from our parents. And this is not to blame them, because I really do believe that we're all victims of victims. And it isn't possible for anybody to teach us anything that they don't know. If your mother didn't know how to love herself, there's no way she could teach you how to love yourself. And if your father didn't know how to love himself, then he couldn't teach you how to love yourself. And if you grew up in a family that was very angry or frightened, then you're likely to be an angry or frightened person because that's what you learned as a child. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. It just is. Again, it doesn't matter what the problem is or how long you've had it or how difficult or chronic it is or anything else or whether it's brand new or whether it runs in the family. There's only one thing I ever teach anyone, and that is loving the self. Because when we really love and appreciate and acknowledge who we are at this point in time and space, it's like little miracles happen everywhere. And life begins to flow for us. And we do what I call getting the green lights in the parking places and all those little things that make life so wonderful. And when we don't love and appreciate who we are, then we put up the barriers and the resistance to our own good. Now, I'm not talking about vanity, because or arrogance, because that is not love, that is fear. I'm just talking about appreciating the being that we are.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Louise Hay, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, stop all criticism.
So many people ask me about how to love yourself. How do you love yourself, Louise? Because I talk about it all the time. So I made a list of how to love yourself. And it's even in poster and postcard form now. But number 1 on that list of how to love yourself is to stop all criticism. Just stop it, now and forevermore. And make a vow to yourself that you're going to do your very best from now on to stop criticizing, number 1, you, and then other people. It'll be a lot easier to stop criticizing other people when you stop criticizing yourself. Now, number 2 on that list is stop scaring yourself. And here we go into fear. How often do you terrorize yourself with your own thoughts? You get into absolute terror, and it's only coming from your thoughts. Nobody out there is doing a thing. Sometimes it's an old family pattern. Sometimes we get new things. How many people here are absolutely in terror of earthquakes? And how often do you do that to yourself? You know, we find so many ways to scare ourselves. I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears. And then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. Turn each one into something positive. And remember, always you are in charge. You are always in charge. See, one idle thought doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's like but thoughts are like drops of water. You drop a drop of water on the table here, and it doesn't mean much. But if you keep dropping and keep dropping and keep dropping, you get the table becomes a wash, and then you get a puddle on the floor, and then you can get a little pond and a lake, and finally you can create an ocean. And with our own thoughts, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. And it's up to us. The thoughts we think accumulate. And what sort of puddles are you standing in? Or are you up to here? Or are you up to here and trying to paddle? You know, what are you doing to yourself? When we're willing to change our thinking, we can change our experiences. And it doesn't matter if you've got a big puddle of negative thoughts. You know, you can move over here and create a puddle of marvelous positive thoughts. You can make changes, always. So you want to turn those fear thoughts into positive affirmations. Let them work for you.
Rule number 3, do affirmations.
Doing an affirmation is either writing it down, writing it on the wall or the mirror, or using just saying it. What I like people to do is to stand in front of a mirror and do their affirmations. Because there's something very powerful about looking in your own eyes and accepting yourself, or noticing that you reject yourself when you're saying something positive about yourself. So that would be a very beginning way to start. Say in the morning, you get up in the morning, you go to the mirror, and this is a big one, and it's hard for lots of people. But you look in the mirror and say, I love you. I really, really love you. And to begin with, that can be so hard for people because they think of all the things that they think are wrong with them. But if you can start your day saying that, it's very powerful. Remember, I'd like to think the universe is listening to everything you say and everything you think and saying, okay, you can get that. So then it starts to bring you in and bring things into you. And I know this sounds far-fetched, but it's amazing how it works. If you do a good general positive statement for yourself, the universe will figure out how to manifest that, how to bring that about in your life. So things could happen that you wouldn't expect at all, but they will happen. If you think of doing your positive affirmations is like planting a seed in the ground. It's not necessarily true at the moment, but it is something you want to have be true. So you put the seed in, and you plant a seed and you expect it to grow. Or you maybe plant 3 seeds just in case. You expect them to grow. And you don't wait 2 days and then dig in the earth and say, what's happening, what's happening? You expect that thing to grow because you know there's a law and a process. And the seed will grow if it is in the right soil and it has the right amount of moisture. Making it really a habit and doing it every day, doing something every morning when you wake up, that's a really good time. And another good time is when you go to sleep at night. And gratitude works a lot. Just being grateful for everything. The more, I always say the universe loves gratitude. The more you're grateful for what the good is in your life, the more good you get to be grateful about. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, if somebody gives you a present or gives me a present and I say, oh my God, I hate that color and it doesn't fit, and you know, that person will never give me another present. Mm-hmm. But if you say, oh, it's wonderful and thank you, I really adore it, it's great, that person is probably going to want to buy you a present every time they see something they think you would like. And it's like that with the universe. The universe loves gratitude.
Rule number 4, change yourself.
We have to be ready to do it ourselves. Remember, each person has come to this planet to learn a lesson. You have your lessons, you have your lessons, I have my lessons, you have your lessons. They're all different. We cannot learn the other person's lessons. We are not here to change other people. We are here to change ourselves. That is what we've come to the planet for, to change ourselves. If we try to do it for someone else, or learn their lesson, or make it nice, they don't get to learn it. And even if we fix it, isn't it amazing how they turn around and recreate it again? And we all know people like that. We've paid their rent, or we've gotten them out of some mess, or we've done this for them or that for them, and 2 months later they're in the same problem, because it's their pattern. It has nothing to do. Teaching them how to get out of it, it is much better if they're willing to learn. So it's like, you know, the student must come to the teacher. And when the student is ready, the teacher is there, always.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5, control your words and thoughts.
You see, I believe that life is really very simple. What we give out, we get back. And what we believe about ourselves becomes true for us. Our thinking creates our experiences. There is a law of thinking like everything else, like all of nature. There is a universal energy or law of mind or subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it. But to me it means the power that is within me and around me transforms my thoughts into experiences. You see, I believe that we are all responsible for everything in our lives. Every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our experiences, our future. And it's almost as though every time you think a thought or you speak a word, that universal intelligence or energy is listening or responding to what you are thinking or believing or saying, without judgment or criticism, totally accepting us at our own value. Whatever we choose to believe becomes true for us.
Rule number 6, change your negative patterns.
There are lots of things you can do to help you become more conscious of what is going on. And because so many of our belief systems really are unconscious or subconscious, we're not aware of them. They're just things that were bred into us as we were children, is to take a little time to figure out what they are. And I always say a really good exercise is to take a big sheet of paper and write on top of it, say, what I think about men. And then another one, what I think about women, what do I think about money, what do I think about any subject you can think of. And just write all the things that come out of your thoughts. And whether they sound good or not, just write them down. And any one subject, if you just write them all down and then look at them and see how many are positive and how many are negative. And if you can take those negative ones and turn them around, make them into positive affirmations, then you can start clearing up what you believe about, say, money that is not positive for you, and or is keeping you from bringing money in. And you can do that with lots of things in your life. So you can really begin to realize what you do believe about these things. So you can't change your thoughts if you don't know what your thoughts are. There is a law of thinking, and we are beginning to learn about it. And it is like a computer. If you have this gorgeous computer put in front of you, and you don't know what to do with it, it's a piece of junk. But if you learn the language of the computer, miracles happen. And that is what the law of thinking is. When you learn how it works, miracles happen. What you think and what you believe is what will come true for you. Your thoughts create your life. It's that simple. And when we can get that, we can make enormous changes.
Rule number 7, reevaluate your beliefs.
If you think for a moment about the vastness of the universe, it is so incredibly big that our human minds cannot comprehend it. It is enormous. And even our top scientists with the most up-to-date equipment today cannot measure the size of the universe. And half of them don't agree on whether it's expanding or contracting. And in this incredible universe, there are so many galaxies that we haven't counted all of them. And in one of the smaller galaxies, in a far-off corner, there is the small galaxy called the Milky Way. In a very far-off corner, there is a minor sun. And around this sun revolve a few pinpoints, one of which is called planet Earth. Now, I find it very, very hard to believe that the incredible intelligence that created this entire universe is an old man sitting on a cloud above the planet Earth watching my genitals with a book. And yet it doesn't compute. It does not compute. And yet how many of us were raised to believe that? And many of us are living it. If you were raised in a religion where you were a sinner and a worm and you had a lot of sexual problems and things like that, start to reevaluate. Do some mental work to change that so that you're not still operating. You can sit down and in front of a mirror, would be real good, look in your eyes and say, okay, now when I was a kid, this is what I was taught. But I'm not a child anymore. Now I am adult, and I don't believe that. I now choose to believe, and then decide what you want your belief of God to be like. You see, if you're in a religion that puts you down, or where you are a sinner or a worm or whatever, get another religion. There are plenty of them. They all tell you that they're the only way. I think even our concept of God must support us. And you do not have to have the same concept of God that your parents had or your grandparents had. You don't have to. Each person is a unique individual, and each one of us creates our own lifestyle and our own belief system. And I think we need to constantly reevaluate what we believe, and particularly if we believe things that don't nourish us. Think, why do I believe that? Where did I learn that? Is that really true for me now? Does it make sense? Maybe I could let that one go. You might create a pair of psychic scissors and cut them out of your consciousness, or create a great big wastebasket and say, okay, that one goes there. And decide that you just do not choose to live under old limitations anymore. Refuse to believe in worry. Begin to trust the universe and watch how it works.
Rule number 8, let go of your past.
I've had many people tell me, well, because of such and such, I can no longer enjoy life. I didn't get invited to the prom or the party, so now I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. Or I didn't get the part, or I didn't make the sale, so I'm no good. Or because I'm no longer married, I can't enjoy life ever again. What foolish limitations we create for ourselves. Don't let these beliefs from the past hurt you in the now. Release that emotional attachment. If we live fully in this moment, we cannot be hurt by the past, no matter what it was. If I asked you what you wore in the 3rd grade, you may or may not remember. If you remember, you probably wouldn't have much emotional attachment to it. You would just remember, and that would be it. And that's how we want to be with all our past experiences. Just recognize them and let them go.
Rule number 9, go on a spiritual journey.
When we go on a spiritual journey, it seems to be more conscious, and we begin to make conscious choices about life instead of just going on and getting up in the morning and doing our stuff and then going to bed. We begin to make conscious choices of our thoughts and our actions and even the foods we eat and things like that. And it's putting your foot on the pathway one step at a time. And some of us do very devious journeys, and we take lots of little side tracks, and we don't get very far, really. And some of us just are very conscientious about it and go one step after another and go closer to our pathway, which is really, to me, I think enlightenment is letting go of all the things we believe that are not benefiting us in life, or they're barriers to our life, to the good things in life, and to release them one by one and just think, I don't have to believe that anymore, or do I want to believe that anymore? And making a conscious choice. When we can understand that every single thing we believe has been a choice, and it may or may not be true. It can be true for you and not for you, because it's your belief system and your belief system, and then I have my belief system. I say a lot, that may be true for you, it's not true for me. I may not say that out loud, but people are doing things or saying things, and I think that to myself a lot. And also, it has nothing to do with me. Whatever's going, that has nothing to do with me, because I'm under the law of my own consciousness. This is my pathway. And you have your pathway, you have yours, everybody does. So we're all on a journey, and I think the more conscientious we are about it and the more conscious choices we make, the better our journey is, or the easier, or the swifter, or we get more goodies, or we have better health, all that stuff.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is choose the life you want.
I believe that we choose our parents. I think we decide to incarnate upon this planet at particular points in time and space. And we come here because it's like a classroom. We have lessons to learn. You have your lessons and I have my lessons. And so before we come each time, I believe we choose our sex, we choose our color, we choose our country. And then we look around for the perfect set of parents that will mirror the lessons and patterns we came to work on. We choose these people as the perfect mirror for our work. then most of us, when we grow up, have a tendency to point our fingers at our parents and say, you did it to me, it's all your fault. But really, if we're all responsible for everything in our lives, then there's no one to blame. All is in perfect divine right order. And we are all doing our best according to the understanding, awareness, and knowledge that we have. Our point of power is always in the present moment. We create our future by our thoughts and actions of today. And we can know that no person, no place, and no thing has any power over us. We create all our situations and all our circumstances by our thinking, feeling patterns. And then we usually give away our power by blaming others when things do not go the way we want. Is this true for you? We all have things we believe and ideas about ourselves.